Hey everyone, welcome back to Lifting Through It with Jess. I'm so glad to be back and recording. Life got a little busy, but that's just how it is. Today's episode is a conversation about living with lipedema, a condition that is often misunderstood, underdiagnosed, and deeply impactful to daily life. My guest is here to share her personal experience, not medical advice, but real lived perspective. Before we begin, a quick reminder this episode is for educational and personal experience purposes only and is not a substitute for professional medical advice. Now, let's begin.
Hi, my name is Patty. As you know, I have stage 2 lipedema that I've probably had since I was about 12 and was only recently diagnosed a year ago after fighting for a diagnosis for about 4 years.
All right. And can you tell us a little about yourself and your journey with lymphedema from the start?
Sure. So, okay, where should I start? Because honestly, it's such a long story. But I can't not start from when I was young, because when I was about 12 years old, 13, 14, in that area, I definitely noticed that my legs looked different than everybody. And as I matured, my body shape was taking on like a whole different thing. I didn't look like everybody else's. I was always very small on top and larger on the bottom. And so I was always very, very, very uncomfortable in my own skin. It was the 90s, so it was hard to be anything but very skinny. And I did experiment with all sorts of diets at a young age, always was unsuccessful, totally blamed myself, always thought it was me that was failing. But, now I realize, fast forwarding all these years, I realize that none of those diets worked for me because I have lipedema, and diets like that don't work. It's not just simply a calorie deficit disorder, which is what I discovered in 2020. So I'm going to fast forward all the way to 2020, where, like everybody else, I was stuck at home. And, I noticed I was starting to gain a little bit more weight because I wasn't moving, and we were definitely eating a lot more. And I saw a picture of myself, and I said, okay, one of two things is going to happen here. I'm either going to gain more weight or I'm going to lose weight. And I weighed myself, and I weighed about approximately like 220 pounds. I took all my measurements. I'm 5'4", by the way. And my face was just very swollen and very round. And I did have a lot of swelling. I did have a lot of pain, but I never associated that with anything, because when I would go to doctors to ask for help or what to do, or if my knees hurt, I was always dismissed. I was always told, "Oh, you're overweight," and I was told, you have to exercise more, you have to eat less, and you have to do things like that. So, in 2020, I made the decision that I wasn't going to ask a doctor anymore. I wasn't going to follow a diet that I had to take all foods away or stop eating carbs or stop eating that, because I couldn't do it. I had too much trauma with all the dieting and all the things I tried. So I did join a program that is very different today than it was 5 years ago. I don't know. Am I allowed to say names of things?
Yeah.
Okay. So I joined Noom, and Noom was very, very, very different than it is today. And Noom gave some therapy lessons, which I also went to therapy. Like, it was Zoom or whatever, but like I seeked help because I first needed to understand my relationship with food. I needed to understand why, after a day of healthy eating and exercise, I would then binge. And when I say binge, I don't just mean like a couple cookies. I mean like everything would just I would just eat everything until until my stomach was bursting. But it was so weird because it was also very hard to get to that point of feeling full.
Right.
So I did a lot of discovery there. And that really was my first step in my entire journey, understanding how to use the scale correctly, how to, and that it's not the enemy, and that food is not the enemy. It's not a you can't eat that kind of thing. It's a just be mindful of how much you're eating kind of thing.
Right.
So I started walking and I started doing all these things and I started to lose weight slowly. My bottom half was still the same. My top half was getting smaller and smaller. And again, like this is a story I tell everybody because people say to me, "Oh, you weigh yourself every day. That's not healthy." But this is why I weigh myself every day. I weighed myself one morning. I was 180 pounds. I was like, "Great!" I marked it in my book. I think I had lost an ounce or two from the day before. Whatever, fine. I went out to dinner with friends, and I chose salmon. I remember exactly what I had. I had some salmon, whatever potato they had, and vegetables. I don't drink, so alcohol was not the issue. I probably had some fried calamari, and I probably had coffee and some dessert. I woke up the next day, weighed myself, and it was 184 pounds. Now, before therapy, I would have lost it. And I would have said, why am I bothering? What's the point? What is happening? And then I look back and I'm like, this is just a fluctuation thing. This food must have been salty. And I just closed my book. I wrote down 184. I closed my book and I went for a walk and I kept going. So the mental issue was huge for me, breaking that wall. I'm not 100% yet. I don't think I ever will be, but that wall needed to be broken.
Right.
So I also incorporated exercise and I was walking and I was trying to do cardio, but I found that I was doing some strength training, some Pilates, and I noticed this is where my body really started to change and to take shape. I tell you, I was 150 pounds and I was completely happy. I was like, okay, good. I'm a size 10 or a 12. I'm good to go. And my bottom half was still bigger than my top. But when I started doing, and by the way, everything is done at home. I don't join the gym. I don't do any of that stuff. So everything is in my house. And I don't have a gym in my house. I just have a couple of dumbbells and that's it. And my body started to change. And that's where I was like, okay, this is great. Let me keep going. Let me keep going. And in 2021, now a whole year had gone by, I ended up losing another 20 pounds by strength training. And I joined a Facebook page and I boldly posted my picture, myself in my bathing suit. And I said, hey, what can I do for my legs? I'm like, my saddlebags are still here. This is still here. What am I doing wrong? And this is when a woman said to me, I think you have lipedema. And I had no idea what the heck she was talking about. And that's when everything started to change for me.
And how long did it take you to receive a diagnosis of it?
Oh, from that day, 4 years.
Wow.
Yeah, it took 4 years. I did a little bit of research on my own at first. Nobody was talking about it back then.
Right.
You know, like where I'm so happy that now we are talking about it, and like it's just there. It's just out there more. But nobody was talking about it. I had no idea what she was talking about. I Googled it and ended up on lipedema.org, which is such a fantastic website. And I'm looking at the pictures and I'm like, oh my God,
right.
That's what I have. And I started reading everything and I was like, this is it. This is what's going on with me. So I went to, there's like a lot of doctor's appointments here, by the way, that I'm skipping that I was completely dismissed because when I was 220 pounds and they did all the blood tests because they were sure that I either had heart disease or I was diabetic. Mm-hmm. When my results all came back that I was perfectly fine, they were like, oh, we don't know what to do. It's got to be you then. You need to do it. So now I'm going into doctor's offices weighing about 130, 135 pounds. And they're like, you're fine. What's wrong? Like, you're fine. So I was dismissed at 220 and I'm also dismissed at 135. So now they're telling me you're fine. It's in your head, like whatever. And I finally went to a primary, and she's like, yeah, I did hear of this, but that was it. And so she gave me a water pill. And she's like, let's try this. And I was like, okay. And that's it. That's what's so scary, because doctors don't know too much about it. They are putting Band-Aids, like Band-Aid pills.
Mm-hmm.
And so, so this water pill was basically just a Band-Aid pill because she didn't know what to do. So I heard that there was an endocrinologist in my area that specialized in weight loss. So it was really pretty much an accident that I found this lady. Now it's 2024, by the way. So it was like Octoberish or something in 2024, where GLP-1s are a thing. Like now people are taking them. They are being used for weight loss. So I was like, oh, maybe this lady will hook me up with something like this. So I went to her and I started, like, when I tell you, I just rattled off all of my ailments. And she's like, okay, like, just stop for 1 second. She's like, let's go back to this lipedema thing. And I was like, yeah, it's a disease. And she's like, oh, I know what it is. And I was like, you do? She's like, yeah. And then I now was wearing my Old Navy compression leggings, by the way, which if you don't have those, everybody should just run and get a pair. And she looked at me and she's like, you, and she's like, you look fine. And I looked at her, I'm like, can I just take my pants off and show you? and she's like, yeah, let's do it. And I took my pants off, and then she's like, oh yeah, you're stage 2.
Wow.
And it was January of 2025. And here's the thing, right? Like, I was begging for that diagnosis, and then she said it. And when I tell you, like, my world literally just stopped, because I felt validated and scared, and now what do I do? Moment.
Right.
All at the same time. So we talked about it there, and she gave me a prescription to go see a physical therapist. And she said that this physical therapist knew what lipedema was, and that she's got a contact with a plastic surgeon, and that they would go ahead and help me with all the things. Well, I never went to that woman because she was very expensive, and her hours were crazy. I couldn't get to them because I was working,
right,
and it was like going to cost over like $300 each time.
Wow.
And they wanted me to go 2 times a week, and I was like, I can't afford that. I can't afford $600 of physical therapy. So I never went. And, I'm now while I'm waiting and while I'm learning what lipedema is, this is the other important part where I started experimenting with my diet, because I am reading here that keto is the way to go, carnivore is the way to go, intermittent fasting is the way to go. But because of my issues in the past with diets that put me in a very vulnerable space with food and restrictions, where if you tell me I can't have broccoli, that is all I could think about. And then I will get my hands on broccoli and I will eat an uncomfortable amount of broccoli. So I can't do that.
Right.
I can't do keto. I wish I could, but I can't, because then all I want is bread. I can't do carnivore because then all I want is fruit. So I started to experiment with anti-inflammatory diet, and it has been the best thing ever. It has really been helpful. My body, and I have a picture up on TikTok where you can see I weigh the same exact. I weigh 135 pounds in both pictures, but you can see that the swelling in one picture is so much less than the other picture. But then I had to experiment with anti-inflammatory, because we're just all made differently.
Right.
And what causes you to become inflamed is different for me.
Right.
And when I figured out what worked for me, which I experimented with, I took everything out of my diet and I started introducing, and I started doing that. Once I did that, I understood what the word flare-up means.
Mm-hmm.
When I did that, then I was like, oh, I was always in a flare up. That's why a dog can't walk on my leg. That's why if I like just stood there, I bruised in like 3 seconds. And that's why I was so itchy. And that's why I could, it all just made sense. I was always inflamed.
Right. I think that's how like I also don't think it's talked about enough, like food intolerance too, and how that comes into play, because I realize like I have a very low tolerance when it comes to onions, and I actually
Mm-hmm.
will swell up when just eating onions, which,
Yep.
I don't think that is also talked about a lot, like how certain, like everyone is differently, like you said, and so like certain foods that work for somebody might not be like the perfect, quote unquote diet plan for other people.
100%. And this is why I don't buy cookbooks. I don't do anything like that. Actually, I always promote AI. I teach people how to use AI so that way they can put their own stats, their own things inside, and then it will generate the perfect plan for you,
Mm-hmm.
what works for you. And that's what I've been going with. So I do provide a list of things that I do. And then somebody will always come back and say, oh, wait a second, you have white rice on your list. And I'm like, yeah, white rice doesn't bother me.
Mm-hmm.
It's not gluten, so it doesn't. As long as it's not gluten, like I'm okay, um, or a potato. I think it was potato or something like that. So whatever I have on there that's not gluten. It was like, okay, so that's why. Wait, rice isn't gluten, right?
Uh, I I think
No, it's not.
it's a grain.
It's a grain, so it's not. Okay, so it was either rice or potato, whatever it was, and it's like, yeah, it's first of all, we were programmed to think that the potato was the enemy.
Right.
And it's like, for me, and for some people it is, but for me it's not.
Yeah.
Cauliflower is my enemy. Eggplant is my enemy. I can't eat tomatoes. And I always use those examples because I'm like, yeah, I'm not cutting out, like I'm cutting out food that another person on a quote unquote diet, that's what they're living off of. I
Right.
can't touch those.
Yeah, cuz
So, and it's important to understand that.
yeah, cuz I know that I've gotten like, fitness influencers like cookbook, of like
Mm-hmm.
their healthy versions of your favorite fast foods or whatever. And sometimes it like worked, and other times I was sick to my stomach, because my abdomen area especially tends to like get distended with certain foods. And I
Oh,
was like, oh, like I thought this was supposed to make me like skinnier, not like this. And it's just because like the way my body is not how their body is. And like I
right.
think you can take like a little bit of everything of somebody says, but like going by the book, of someone's diet plan doesn't necessarily mean it's gonna just work for you.
No,
And I think that's like
no.
a big scam that's going on in, the industry right now. It's
Oh,
just following everything they say.
but it's been a scam for years.
Mm-hmm.
Like this is not new, right? This has been a scam. I mean, from as far back as I can remember.
Right.
Like think of the diet names. I don't know if you know, but like there was a diet called the Special K diet, where you
Yes.
had right 2 bowls of cereal and then like a sensible dinner. Like that's
Yep.
not a lot.
No.
That is not a lot. And I did the cabbage soup diet. Um, I took Stacker. Do you know what Stacker is?
Mm-mm. No.
So Stacker they don't have it on the shelves anymore. People my age will definitely remember it. And Hydroxycut and medicine like that. Excuse me, I misspeak. It was not medicine. It was a quote unquote supplement, which is why we have to be careful with supplements. Just because it's called supplement doesn't mean it's good for you.
Right.
But when I tell you, you would take one and it was like taking speed. It
Mm-mm.
was insane. It's just not good. The amount of people with heart issues after that is probably astronomical. But we did everything because we were supposed to try to look like a certain somebody. And
Mm-hmm.
if it didn't work and if we didn't do exactly what they said, then it was our fault. So yeah,
Yeah.
it's always been that circle. They need to make money off of people, and then you have people like us that it, we're not cookie cutter.
Right.
It's not going to work. It's
Yeah.
just a cookie cutter thing. A cookie cutter exercise program and a cookie cutter diet program is just not going to work, which is why I always say you have to get your mental health in check, because this is a journey and it is one bumpy ride, and you
Yeah.
have to be prepared for it.
Yeah, because there are some days that like I'm in so much pain. Like I know there for a while I was like going to the gym consistently like every single day. And I think like you should obviously try to move, do something every single day. But sometimes like if I clean the house, then I go work out and then I go for a 1 mile run to get my steps in or whatever. The next day, I can't even get out of bed because
Yeah.
I'm in so much pain. Like all my
You,
joints are hurting. And I'm like, okay, but I'm told by, social media and society that if I skip today, then it's because I don't want it bad enough or I'm not
yeah.
dedicated enough. When the
Yeah.
reality is like I'm actually doing more damage to my body by not taking that rest that I need.
Yeah. I was definitely under the impression that rest days were for the weak.
Right.
And so that now, like, as I go through my list, like on TikTok, like I do say like, okay, this is my rest day today. That's why you don't see any exercise here, because I rested. Does it mean I sat around all day? Sometimes it depends on the day, but other times I'm going food shopping or, just going to work. And there is that movement. And
Right.
ever since I adopted this policy, that the people that I follow on YouTube, they also like, they want people to rest. I don't have those aches and pains like I used to, like after working out. I'm
Mm-hmm.
okay. I'm okay.
And sometimes even taking like a week, I'll take like a week off. And when I go back to the gym, because my body has had time, because I have a Garmin watch. So it'll tell me like when you're like my body is strained or and whatnot. But
Uh-huh.
when I go to the gym like every single day and I'm lifting heavy every single day and doing the most and all this stuff, like I notice my watch is like, training readiness, low, 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 low. Take a rest day, low. And I'm like, no, I can't. But then when I take like a week off, it's like I'm 100% like body battery is 100% charged and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But I still feel guilty because I'm like, well, I taking a week off, I'm going to lose all my progress, but that's the mental part. It's not true. You're not going to lose all your progress for taking a week off or 2 weeks off. There are people who take like a month off of,
Mm-hmm.
doing heavy lifting and they're perfectly fine. And sometimes they're in a better physical and mental state to go back.
Mm-hmm. And that's the other thing that I have definitely learned. I remember one day I was about to start a workout and I really didn't want to do it. And I just lifted and I did it in such a way where I actually said, if I do this, I'm going to hurt myself
Right.
because I don't want to be here. And so I just put it down. I turned it off. And then I was like, I just don't want to today. And I realized I did not undo all the stuff that I had been working so hard with, which is one of my tricks. And this is a mental thing. I know some people say that like, oh, I think you go too far, but this is what helps me. That it's like right before Christmas, what I do or anything like that, I take a picture of myself. And after I have a glorious day, of feasting and things like that, and I would get that guilt that you're talking about. I would take a picture of myself again, and I'd look and I'd be like, I'm the same exact.
Right.
One day isn't. Now, if I do that every day, that's different.
Yeah, for
But
years, maybe.
for years,
Yeah.
and that's different. But that's why it's like, Christmas Day came, and on the 26th, I was right back to working out and doing my things. And that's where I became mentally healthy.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas before, it would be like, all right, forget it. I'm just going to start January 2nd. And then January 2nd turns into, okay, well, next week. And then before you know it, then it's out of your hands.
Right.
And that's why it's best to say, like, okay, not today. I'm okay. I'm going to take a rest. Or, you know, like you said before, like, oh, making your favorite meals healthier. Well, if I know, like, let's just say I do want something, like, I can't give up sweet potato fries. If I go to a certain restaurant, I need to eat those sweet potato fries in honey mustard. I love them. And I just look at them and I'm like, okay, I'm going to have a flare up tomorrow, but so worth it. And that's it.
Right.
And it has been just freeing to finally begin to think that way. I'm not 100% there, but I am definitely closer today than I was yesterday.
And how does pain or swelling impact your mobility or energy throughout the day?
Even at my heaviest, the pain and the swelling, the actual physical pain is what I'm saying right now, like what I'm talking about. It was never bad enough where I couldn't walk or I couldn't do things. Um, I think it's mainly because I just didn't know any other way. So, but mentally, it stopped me from doing a lot of things. So there's like a twofold there, right? So like it needs to be separated. So mentally, I didn't go to parties. I didn't go out. I wanted to stay home all the time. I missed out on things with my kids, like going into pools and going to the beaches and doing things on vacation and all those things because mentally I couldn't take the pain of sitting in a chair or somebody sitting next to me or somebody staring or somebody saying something and all those things. So mentally, it blocked me 100%. But physically, I was always okay, even though at times my legs were restless. Just leaning on me a little bit, I would squeal in pain, become bruised. I would have pain levels at like 8 or 9. Now that I'm looking back at it, but it never stopped me from my everyday life or my everyday living.
Okay.
Now, I have to say, my legs still don't look like everybody else's, but I am much better mentally going out, wearing different things with compression and stuff like that. And physically, I'm really, really happy to say that with the anti-inflammatory and all the other things that I've been doing, like vibration plate or dry brushing and things like that, easy things, nothing that is crazy, like expensive or anything like that. My pain level really has been like a 3 or 4. The swelling was really the problem. And now it's only been a week, but I am taking that pycnogenol vitamin that people are talking about now because of the study that came out. And I feel pretty good. So I'm in that lucky space, and I know I am because I know there are so many women out there who they can't walk or they can't get out of bed and they can't drive, they can't work. But I've never been at that point, and now it's better. I can't run. I never liked running, but running is definitely not a possibility because my legs feel like bricks, and so it would be hard to throw one in front of the other.
Right. And then just like kind of a two-part question, I guess, is what is something that you wish doctors understood better about this condition and also the general public?
Doctors in general, I just wish they knew what it was, and I wish that they wouldn't put Band-Aids on it.
Right.
By Band-Aids, I mean like naming it possibly something else that it's actually not. Listening, not just assuming that we are overeating or lazy or tired or that we're having too much sodium. So I would love for them to realize and know that everybody is different. So you can't, whatever is going to help you might differently help me. And we need more plans out there for women. And, the general public, I, you know, this one is challenging too, because I've seen the looks, I've seen the stares, I've seen people who are not great with other people. Like, you know, when you go places, you see people with heavy legs. Now I'm like, oh, I think whatever, I think that. But I just wish everybody understood that it's not just the one thing either.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean, like, we can talk about the heaviness of our legs, and we could talk about that we're disproportionate and all that other stuff. But I really wish people understood, one, the mental toll that we are all under,
Mm-hmm.
and two, other things that come along with this. It ends up, it's not just lipedema. It does end up that, you know, because of this, you might have this. And because of this, you might be suffering this. And we're just starting to make those connections. And so
Right.
because of that, you know, one thing that was said to me was, oh, it's just. Oh, so it's just that? Like, you know, go to a doctor. What's wrong? What's wrong? Oh, it's just. And yes, could it be much, 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 much worse for me? Yes. I'm grateful. I'm grateful of what I've been able to accomplish. I'm grateful that I've been able to get my pain level down to a certain space. But there's still things that are going on inside that not everybody sees.
Right.
And I think that's it. And just take this as not just a just.
Right.
Take it as something that's impacting me. So if you're a family, you know, forget about strangers, but if you're a family member or a friend, just know it's not just what you see.
Right.
There's so many other things that you just don't know.
Yeah. I think that's like when, you know, I've seen people when other people are in the gym and I've heard people like make comments about them, you know, and it's like, okay, but this is why people are so nervous to start their journey, right? Because
Yeah.
they're scared of getting judged. Just like, I mean, I was the same way when I started going to the gym. I was like, everyone in here, like, they're looking at me because they think I'm overweight. And then I know a lot of people say like, oh, no one's really paying attention to you, but I've also have heard people in a gym laugh
Yeah.
or record other people or something, and even someone's form in the gym, like, what if it's their first day? Like, I don't, the negative, and that, I think the negative impact that has on people, especially with mental health too, because when I first started going to the gym, I was going to the gym with a group of people, and one of them was like, well, look around the gym, like, who do you want to look like in the gym? And because he was like, you know, they're all skinny in here. Who do you want to look like? And that knocked down like my confidence in the gym
Yeah.
and just about my self image. And people think that, you know, they're pushing you to be better, you know, they're giving you a reality check. But trust me, I give myself a reality check every single day when I look in the mirror. Like, I know what I look like. I'm not delusional, you know, like,
Yeah.
and then society, it changes so much. Like, you know, I think in the early 2010s, it was like the Kim K look, you know, the super curvy. And then, but then, you know, the wafer thin look was super in. And like, especially women, like we struggled, like men, I think their physiques have pretty much stayed consistent throughout time. But for women, it fluctuates in society with being super super skinny or being heavy big chested or having a big back end and then a tiny waist or just being thin all over. Like, it constantly changes, and like women, we're trying to keep up with like what is going to be what we need to look like, you know, in magazines, social media, everything.
And the thing is our body should not be a trend.
Exactly.
Right? Like, clothing can be a trend. Like,
Yes.
shoes can be a trend. But our bodies, like, I can't change it.
Yes.
And it's causing disorders. It's causing little girls, women's self-esteems to be in a dumpster. I mean, when I was growing up, it was They actually named it the heroin chic look.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you're welcome. The heroin chic look. And what the heck is that?
Yeah.
You're basically saying that a healthy person looks like somebody on heroin.
Yeah.
Make that make sense.
Yeah.
Like make that make sense. But our bodies are not a trend. I
Yeah.
mean, like there's things for self-confidence, right? I'm all for it. Whatever you got to do to make yourself feel
Right.
better. You do you. I am not going to judge you. But if you're getting pushed into these trends just to have it changed in 10 years, like you're not a kitchen, like you're not a kitchen cabinet where one day you're going to go from, okay, all brown is in style and now all gray is in style or farmhouse is in style.
Yeah.
We're not those people. I could change my hair,
Yep.
but my body is my body. And that's that. It's so disheartening. And that's, I'm going to keep going back to this, no matter what, because I say this all the time too when I'm speaking to people. I do sound like I'm going back and forth, but that's because I'm working with two things. I'm navigating understanding how to eat. I'm navigating how to understand that food is not the enemy, that I don't have to exercise like an animal in the gym. I actually learned that over-exercising is terrible for people with lipedema. We don't want high impact because then we're going to inflame our joints. So I learned that. And I learned, and then I learned about lipedema, and then I had to figure that all out. And that's like a whole other thing to navigate.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm mixed, I definitely go back and forth because up until I was 41, I was battling obesity. Now I'm battling lipedema, where I was told by two different doctors, and I remember being told this too, like, you've gone, because I said to one doctor, I was like, okay, so now what? What do I do? And she's like, everything that you're doing is what I would have told you to do. She's like, you pretty much reached it. Like, that's it. My only option now is surgery. And I remember being told that, and I was like, oh, so battling that, I remember I came home and I was just, I was so upset because I was like, I'm pretty much broken and I can't be fixed. Yeah. And that's a lot.
Yeah. That's kind of like what happened when I got, because I had a chiropractor tell me that they thought I might have EDS. And then when I finally got the diagnosis from another doctor, I remember crying in the parking lot because I've been feeling like I've been crazy this whole time, or, whatever, that they were kind of not trying to, but they were basically insinuating, that I was making it up. And I was like, okay, but you're telling me that my knee joints and ligaments being damaged, my ankle ligaments being damaged, my hip dysplasia, my labral detached from my hip, and I have 4 herniated discs, 2 bulging discs, whatever, like the list went on and on and on. And I was like, you're telling me that all this is because, I'm making it up, of that there's something linked to it. And then that relief that I felt when I got the diagnosis was amazing. But when I went back to the doctor and was like, okay, so what do I need to do to fix this? But now I have degenerative disc disease. Like I have to live with that for the rest of my life. And eventually it will get worse. I have to, she basically said, like, you can do physical therapy, to strengthen certain muscles. But at the end of the day, like, this is what it is. Like, it's a genetic disease. You're always going to have it. And it's like a relief knowing that I got the diagnosis. Like, I finally got an answer, but also at the same time, it was kind of it was depressing because that's it. Like, there's no magic answer to heal it or fix it.
Yeah, I felt it's like a punch in the gut.
Right.
It really is.
So what advice would you give someone who suspects that they do have lipedema?
So first I would say um, deep breaths. And there are about 40 to 50 things that you can do, but you can't do them all at once. You will get overwhelmed. You will think that it's impossible, and you won't be able to help yourself. So the first thing I would say is to do what I did by accident, which is take a look at lipedema.org and pick something. Pick something that you want to get used to. So that could be starting to walk. That could be starting to figure out what kind of diet that you want to follow from here after. But just figuring those things out little by little. The next job you would have to do is try to find somebody to diagnose you. That's going to take a while, possibly. Hopefully people are lucky and they get it done right away. But the reason why I'm saying find that doctor second is because while you're waiting for that appointment, you can start to take those measures while waiting for that appointment. That you're already starting to use a vibration plate. You're already starting to, experiment with the idea that maybe gluten is not for you or that dairy isn't for you. So taking those measures right away and then finding that doctor. And when you're looking for a doctor, you want to look for a vascular surgeon or an endocrinologist that knows what lipedema is. So don't waste your time and just show up and then talk to them about lipedema. Ask them first, do you know what it is? If they don't know, find somebody else. If you can't find somebody else, then you have to find somebody who's willing to learn. And I would be open about it. This is what took me a little bit, is talking to other people, letting them know, and getting that support. I would also look for communities. There are so many wonderful groups on Facebook. We have a fantastic group on TikTok, and I'm on Instagram, and I'm on YouTube. And the community is overwhelmingly, in a good way, helpful to know that you're not alone.
Right. And if you want to share your TikTok and all that, you can.
Oh, thank you. So my handle is Patty Unfinished, and that's for all my things. It's for my TikTok, my YouTube, and my Instagram. They're all the same videos. There's nothing different on any of them, but some people, they don't have Instagram, they don't have TikTok. So it's Patty Unfinished, and that's with a Y. So it's Patty Unfinished.
Awesome. And what gives you strength on difficult days?
Remembering how far I've come.
Amazing. And is there anything else you'd like to listeners to take away from your story?
That it's possible. It's going to be hard, and it's going to take a lot of time, commitment, and strength, but it is possible to feel better. I can't take it away. I will always have lipedema, even if I do decide to get the surgery one day. But it is possible. It just takes time and a little help.
Awesome. Thank you so much for sharing your story and your time with us today. To anyone listening who feels seen in this conversation, you're not alone. If you'd like to learn more about lipedema or connect with supportive communities, I'll include helpful resources in the episode description. Thank you guys for listening, and thank you so much for coming on the podcast and talking and sharing your experience and everything. It has been really great.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Well, I'm sure I missed about 35,000 things, but there's a lot in there, so you're very welcome.
Thank you. All right, that's all for today's episode. I want to give a huge thank you to Patty for coming on and sharing her story, her knowledge, and her experience with lipedema. I know conversations like this helps so many people feel seen, understood, and less alone, and I truly appreciate you being here. If you'd like to keep up with Patty, you can find her on her social media that she listed. I'll also link all her information in the episode description so it's easy to find. And to everyone listening, thank you for spending part of your day with me. If you enjoyed this episode, feel free to follow this podcast, leave a review, or share it with someone who might need to hear it. Until next time, keep showing up for yourself, even on the hard days. I'll talk to you soon.